a wide range of industries normally, very different situations. So especially early stage of your career, when you don't know exactly, what you want to do, at least for me, that's where I was, and consulting was just, McKinsey was an amazing experience in kind of building a broad kind of worldview. And the second thing is just problem solving, and I feel that the world we are in, problem solving skills are way more important than specific knowledge is also important, but we often tend to over-index on that, whereas problem solving skills, your ability to take any new situation which is complex, which is ambiguous, make sense of it, define it, structure it, break down complex problems into smaller problems, and then address them in a very fact-based fashion. That's McKinsey's gift. Or it's maybe not just McKinsey, most consulting firms do that well, and I'm very thankful that I had that opportunity to build those skills early in my career. Perhaps the issue with consulting is perhaps the strength is also a problem, right? The fact that you go from you end up doing a lot of things means that sometimes there is this breadth versus depth issue, that you end up touching a lot of things. So you maybe don't go into the depth of any one thing that easily. So for example, for me, I'm somebody who likes to own things. So whenever I will go to a client, I would feel that this is my company, this is my thing, I'm running it. But no, yes, there's a sense of ownership which is important, but end of the day, you move on. And that's something which I always felt a little, I always used to feel a little sad about. But look, I started my career there. I spent 14 years there. Amazing set of opportunities. Fidelity Investments is one of the world's leading investment management firm globally, over $6.5 trillion, $7 trillion of assets under management and administration. Just to give you a perspective, that's 3 times India's GDP. It's again, very high quality firm. Very common to McKinsey in some sense, very different industries, but very common because both firms had like 3 very common things, which was the root of their success, why they had been number one in their respective industries for 60, 70 years. And it is not what you may expect. The root to their success was, number one, was always putting the client first. It may seem like a nice statement which everybody makes, but I think these 2 firms really lived that. The second was about really long term. In a world where there is so much volatility and so much happening, it's interesting that firms which have, like these have stood, the tides of time for like 60, 70 years. And third is values. Third is just, values, doing the right thing. So anyway, that's 3 things which were very common between McKinsey and Fidelity, but very different industry. And the investment world, which a lot of people get attracted to, that's a world of depth. That's a world of depth, and it's not investment management is not something you dabble in. Yeah, a lot of people get attracted to finance maybe at this stage, when you're starting at business school and starting your professional journey, because it may be, those are maybe the highest paying jobs. But finance and investment management, you succeed because you have a deep passion for markets and you have a deep passion for investing. So in finance, it's not necessarily the academically, most gifted or somebody who was topping in the finance course at business school who's going to do the best, but somebody who really has the passion for markets. Yeah. Now it may be that it takes some time for you to develop that passion and you experiment, but that's something I would say, and that's how consulting and investment management are very different. Consulting, even if you don't know what you like, and you go in and you have the IQ and the kind of drive, you can do well. In investing in finance, you need to have the passion. Without that, it can become very, very, very suffocating. Moving on to Flipkart e-commerce, a very, very, very different experience to the first two. The first two were a lot about long-term, were a lot about culture, values. E-commerce, it's a space, especially in India, which is very rapidly evolving, and therefore it's very dynamic, is very chaotic. The amazing thing is that the speed is so amazing in the e-commerce and generally the where technology disruption is happening, that it's like, I say it's like 6 times, that your what you do and what you experience in like 1 year is almost like 6 years of anything else. So it's a very, very, very intense thing. I think it's amazing. But again, maybe the flip side is maybe burnout. It's too fast, too intense. The flip side also is probably that the culture and is not as well established, or the processes and structure are not as well established as firms which have been there for a long, long period of time. So at early stage of your career, it's good and it's bad. If you are an entrepreneur, if you have an entrepreneur orientation, then it's amazing. Yeah, because you will thrive in that chaos. But if you have a need for structure, then maybe starting your career in an organization which gives a little more structure is perhaps helpful. So I'll pause here. But Sandeep, the one thing perhaps that comes out is that look, McKinsey, Fidelity, or Flipkart, and equally consulting, finance, e-commerce. There are amazing, abundant opportunities out there today. So it's a great time to be in business school. It's a great time to, to start your careers. There isn't anything which is, okay, this is 1, 2, 3. There isn't anything like that. It depends on you. Because that's the mistake that many people make, that they are looking outside, but you need to look inside, that who are you? What is it that what is it that gives you energy? What are your passions? What is it that you are good at? And you need to find the intersection of that with the opportunity out there. And it's less there, more here, that, if you know yourself, you will be, you will find what's best for you, as opposed to just looking at some, ranking list. I'll pause here, Sandeep.
Brilliant, Nitin. Wonderful thoughts. So, a complete slight tangent. Did you love what you did, or did you do what you loved across these 3 assignments?
Both. It's so in life, it's what you said, you love what you do, or you do what you love. It's a recursive relationship. Yeah, because typically one can't happen without the other. Yeah, sometimes in life, you keep on searching for, I will do what I love. Yeah. And you don't know that. You don't know what you love.
True.
Or perhaps you're a glass half empty person. And it's a reality of the way we are as human beings, that the human mind tends to gravitate to the negative more easily than to the positive. Yeah. So it happens, sometimes we're always searching. So it is essential, I feel, that whatever you're doing, you love that.
Absolutely.
Whatever you're doing, you love that. Yeah. And it's like, I know how many of you have read of Dale Carnegie. So, early on in my career, so Dale Carnegie is this master of, how do you influence people, and how do you get people to like you and all of that. And early in my career, I used to say, oh, what a sham. This sounds so artificial, this sounds so insincere. And as I've grown in my career, I realized that, look, there is so much truth in what he says. You have to go outside of your aspect and connect with the other person. So, what I always, what you asked, I put it in a slightly different, way, Sandeep, that is it that, you are happy and you smile? Yeah. Or is it that you smile and then you become happy? It's both, right?
It's a bit of both, sure.
It's both, that you can't control that, you'll always be happy and you will smile and the world will smile with you. Yeah, but what option do you have?
Absolutely.
We are in this COVID pandemic. Should we just all sit at home and cry? No, it's you have to smile. You have to smile, and you feel happy.
Yes.
It's recursive. It is recursive. It's a feedback loop. It's a feedback loop, and very, very true for jobs. Anything which is out there has good in it. Has a learning opportunity in it. You focus on the positive, you focus on what you can take away from it, what you can contribute, you will love it. You will love it. And when you start loving it, it's, what you get out of it also multiplies.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even when we hire or recruit our MBA students, we look for this wonderful quality called fire in the belly or passion, and I can see tons of it coming out. I'm sure it's infectious to all of the other employees. I can see Apoor smiling. So wonderful thoughts, Nitin. Incedo, you are doing huge work with some of the leading Fortune 500 companies, Verizon, Citibank, many others. And your driving push probably is digital transformation. Would you like to walk us through some of this work and perhaps even dissect a customer as to how your expertise is helping those customers to grow their business?
Sure, Sandeep. Sure, happy to do that. And digital transformation, digital is like an umbrella term. Yeah, digital means a lot of things. It means new technologies like AI and cloud and blockchain and data science and all of that coming together. Digital is a new way of doing business. It is both customer facing. It's a new way for customers to interact. It is often about new channels. But equally, it is also internal. It is about digitizing your internal processes. So digital is a very broad term, and it is definitely a mega trend of our times. It's a mega trend of our times. So when I at a certain point I decided that, look, I had enough of working in large companies. Because when you spend, it looks very good, that you have this big title, but you spend like half your time kind of managing stakeholders. So, I wanted really to be an entrepreneur and kind of really build something. Because even when I was in McKinsey or Fidelity or Flipkart, I was always about building things. So I wanted to build it for my own. So when I decided that, it was very obvious for me that, hey, the space, which I feel passionate about, based on everything I've done, is this digital space. Yeah. And I had seen it very closely. And there's a reason I'm going to a little bit of this background, Sandeep, that, at McKinsey, I was at the cutting edge of setting up and experimenting with new capabilities. Initially, it was analytics, but then number of new capabilities, which today we'll call digital analytics. And then Fidelity, in addition to my role heading India, I was heading transformation, which was really digital transformation for Fidelity's international business. And then I joined Flipkart, which was really a digital native, which was at the cutting edge of that digital disruption. And I saw that it was very different. The way the large established companies were working and the way a Flipkart was working was very different. Yeah, and it was not just about technology, it was about processes, it was about structure, it was about mindset. It was a mega difference. Yeah, it was just very different. And that really was the inspiration for me that, hey, what the digital natives are doing, a lot of that best practice can we bring to more traditional companies. Yeah, and that simply is what we are trying to do with Incedo. Yeah, and we are focused on more traditional industries like banking, financial services, telecom, life sciences, and healthcare. So now let me that's a little bit of the big picture of what we're trying to do, but let me now kind of drill down for you into maybe just one kind of client, and what does digital mean, and what are we doing for them. So this is a very big telecom company. I wouldn't want to go into specific names, Sandeep, if that's okay. It's a very large telecom company. It's one of the largest in the world. Digital is a very important channel for them. So today digital is like 14% of their sales volume. Yeah, so that percentage of customer sales come through the digital channel. Now their aspiration is to make it significantly higher. Yeah, significantly higher. And then you kind of, when you look at that, you say, okay, how do I increase the number of people who are coming into the digital channel? And that's a classic marketing problem. Yeah, that how do I reach out to the right set of customers, and how do I build awareness, and how do I build the triggers so that they will come onto the digital journey. But then in this case, they have a high volume of customers coming into the digital channel, but the problem really is one of conversion. Yeah, that the conversion is like maybe 1%. Yeah, if there are 100 people coming onto the digital channel, one is only buying. Yeah, so then what it means is that you need to look at the funnel. You need to look at the funnel of top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel, which is really shopping cart. And all of you understand these things, right? Because all of you buy online. Yeah, so you have to analyze where is the drop off happening, which is where data science comes in. Yeah, which is where data science comes in, because you're looking at like amazing volume, right? You're looking at hundreds of millions of kind of transactions of customers coming through, right? So that's kind of was the starting point for us, to kind of do the funnel analysis, use data science to understand where the drop-offs are happening. When you understand the reasons, some of those reasons are design. Yeah, a lot of those reasons are actually more fundamental, and which is an important point I want to make, that look, digital is not just about technology. It is seen as a technology-led issue, but most times your problems are not just technology. It is about your products. Yeah, it is about your pricing. Now, one issue that most large enterprises face, that bulk of their revenues come from their physical channels, their traditional channels. Their products, their pricing, their entire strategy is based on the physical channels. Yeah. So, and what they often end up doing is that they end up taking that to the digital channel. Yeah, and that is where the problem happens, and that's where, if you look at retail, and if you look at Amazon and Flipkart, and if you look at then, let's say, most retail companies, whether it's Walmart or Macy's or whoever, or in India, Closer Home, Reliance, or whichever large chain, that's been the challenge they have faced. Yeah, because a digital native is able to go, it doesn't have any legacy, has a clean sheet of paper, so is able to go say, okay, this is what the customer needs, let me kind of solve for that. Whereas the traditional players have a legacy, have something which is there. So, and that ends up becoming the starting point for them. So, I just wanted you to understand that is, when you say digital, it is not just technology, these aspects are there. But let me kind of move forward. So when you think about solutions, see, that's where on these kind of problems that I described, that's where AI becomes very, very important. Yeah. So there is a lot of conversation about artificial intelligence, but in the world of digital, where artificial intelligence is really, really now moved beyond experimental to mainstream is this notion of personalization. Yeah, is the notion of personalization. So the real, one of the amazing things about digital is just how much data gets generated. Yeah. So it's an order of magnitude difference. We're not talking about petabytes, and it's all, the denominations keep on changing. But what you're able to do with that data is that you're able to target the individual. Yeah. So this client of mine, they have 150 million customers. It's a large number, and when I started working with them, and had a very good conversation with their head of analytics. So I asked, okay, so what is your segmentation strategy? And he said, you know what, we don't have a segmentation strategy because we are looking at a segment of one. Yeah. Because we can now, segmentation is old school, because segmentation you do because you don't know, so you have to approximate. Now you know each customer at an individual level, so we can really target them individually, and which is true for most businesses that I look at. And that is where artificial intelligence really comes in, that it allows you to target. It allows you to understand the customer on a very dynamic basis and target it very specifically. There's a lot that I can talk about, but the final point I will make before I pause is just about data. Again, I'm going back to data, that while at the surface, what you see are websites and portals and a lot of design kind of work, and there's a lot of conversation about AI and analytics and data science. But what I want you to know is that when you look at digital programs and you look at where investment is going, for any $1 that goes into AI or analytics, $9 go into data. Yeah, $9 go into data, because just again, the volume, velocity, variety of data that is exploding is one of the most defining features of our age. And just the technology challenge just to get that data together is one of the most one of the biggest challenges, and that's where really when you look at all of these programs, the dollars actually go.
Wonderful. Nitin, two moments of serendipity just happened in your answer itself. One was what you talked about, the segment of one, and customizing that experience for that unique user. And this is something that we teach in some of our classes. In fact, the case study we teach for this particular concept is Subway, where you walk into any Subway anywhere in the world. But
right.
For those few minutes, it's an experience completely unique to you as a customer. The other is a couple of our students this year have done exactly the project that you talked about, which is, can we move up from this 1% of the funnel and take it to, let's say, a 5 or a 10?
Right.
These are students who actually interned with Vodafone Idea. And you'll know, Nitin, in India, it's an oligopoly.
Yes.
Voda has about 300 million.
Most telecom markets are oligopolies.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. That's right. So serendipity, Nitin, and thanks for sharing that. It resonates very, very nicely with a lot of the quote unquote curriculum interventions that we do with our students. So I'm absolutely delighted to hear industry from you. And this was like a case study of a large customer in the US. Nitin, let's now chat about something very topical, possibly top of the mind to many, many people, which is this entire pandemic all around us, and the VUCA squared, cubed, you can multiply it by any order of magnitude that's really happening. But companies and enterprises are actually responding back. So to use Star Wars, the Empire is fighting back. What would be your comments about how enterprises are responding, and what would be the impact of this kind of a response on business going forward?
The first, I want to just start by acknowledging, what a momentous, movement, we are going through in our history as mankind, and what a human tragedy that is happening around us in so many parts of the world. So I think it is first just important to acknowledge that, it just kind of gives you a certain perspective about life, how complex and how momentary, life can be, that, there is this thing, the well-laid plans of mice and men, that,
Yes.
Man proposes, God disposes. COVID is like that, and it just, who could have seen this? Who could have seen this? Yeah. So, but it's just also very, given the magnitude of the challenge and the human tragedy around us, it is just unbelievable how everybody is adapting. Yeah, it just, you look at it, that the impact from a human perspective, and then, impact from like an economy perspective, and then you look at, impact in terms of what enterprises are doing and what is happening in the markets, you see quite a big gap. You see quite a big gap. So I think the enterprises have adapted marvelous, amazingly, generally, amazingly. Our business, the technology industry generally has actually fared extremely well. It's been super surprising and very positive. But I'll come to that. The first point I would make is that, unlike previous crisis, this crisis, the impact on industries is very, very dispersed. Yeah. So there are, of course, industries like airlines or hospitality, which are just like shattered. Yeah. Which have just been hit, like, it's like a body blow. Yeah. And it's going to take them 5 years. It's going to take them a long, long time, to recover. Yeah. Then there are industries, where there is some impact. Manufacturing, of course, oil and gas. You get a lot of industries, which have been impacted, but it's not that they have shut down.
Sure.
Yeah. Then there are industries, which are, where there is, it's okay. Like telecom as an example. Clearly the digital traffic has increased. But look, when, there is, like, in a telecom, you would see that your consumer volumes are increasing, your enterprise volumes are kind of coming down. Yeah. So it's kind of evens out.
Okay.
And then there are industries, which are like, really exploding, and, digital technology is that, like, now we know that the valuation of Zoom is a lot more than the valuation of Uber.
Do you
right?
own chess?
No, I don't. but it tells you something, right? There are industries, which have actually grown significantly because of this. So that's just the first point I want to make, that the impact has been very, very, very spread. And we as Incedo, I kind of, we work with clients across industries, so it is, you can see see that it's been a very different type of impact. I've seen companies go through different cycles. Initially there was first couple of months, companies didn't know what hit them. Yeah, and and I talked to a lot of CEOs, and the first 3 months, I think people were very confused, surprised, did not know what to do, and because of that, there were very different type of reactions. There were panic reactions where people immediately clamped down. There was a lot of panic reaction in terms of trying to cut down costs, operations, blah blah blah. Some said that hey, it doesn't really. It's in 3 months, it's going to be fine, and didn't really consider it that seriously. But then we went through a phase where everybody kind of started to there was a more calibrated response that was coming, of understanding what is. And now I'm seeing a phase where companies are generally innovating around it. They are investing. They are, I won't say completely changing, but they're certainly reprioritizing. They're reprioritizing their product agendas. They're reprioritizing investments into different channels. So all of that is happening. As far as my industry goes, technology services, it's actually been amazing. Generally in this industry, we have been able to shift the work to work from home almost entirely. It's today there isn't even a 1% revenue leakage for us. So maybe that was a 5% or for like maybe 1.5 2 months, but there is very little revenue leakage. The customer satisfaction scores are higher, productivity scores are higher. So it's really amazing, how the industry has kind of responded. The issue I worry about, is that this is not going away.
Yes.
Yeah. This is, at least another 6 months, maybe 12 months before we get to this thing called normal. So what are the implications of that? I think there is a lot of implication also in terms of, which is hidden right now, it is in terms of emotional well-being and mental health. That's the topic I really worry about. Because if you look at the delivery is happening very well.
That's right.
All the hard metrics are very good. My own company, we are growing. We have grown pretty strongly during this phase. Our profitability is strong, so all of that looks great. But below the surface, there is this. It's different. There is a certain. There is a loneliness aspect of it. There is a fatigue aspect to it. So the emotional well-being, mental health, to me, is actually the thing I worry a lot about.
Sure.
And I worry about our employees. I worry more broadly. I worry about myself. So that's just something I want to put out there, that everybody needs to find their own coping mechanism, but it's an important thing. As far as students are concerned, let me come to this, right? If you are an MBA student, and going through this kind of VUCA world, volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. Look, I just think that you need to be a little patient. Okay, so my prognosis would be that it is possible. See, coming year may not be the best year in terms of job opportunities. I think it's a reality that one needs to face up to. Yeah, and you just have to come to terms with it. Yeah, I don't want to give any rosy things, because I was thinking about it, that's something which will be on your minds. That look, what I would say is that actually graduating at this point, or over the next kind of 12 months, see, this impact is going to remain. Okay, it's not going to be like a U-shaped recovery immediately and all of that, to my mind. So I think this slightly tough times are going to remain. It's not a disaster. It is not a disaster, but it will be tougher times. Yeah, it will mean that you will have to try harder. If, for example, if normally you have, 100% campus placement or whatever it is, my expectation will be that it may not be that easy. That you may need to go out and try a lot more yourself. I also think that it's a great opportunity for you to consider entrepreneurship. So when I was speaking with you yesterday, I was so happy to hear that you have a course just around entrepreneurship where there's actually no placement by design.
That's
I
right.
was so inspired to hear that, and I think that's such a amazing thing, especially in these times. See, jobs are going to be fewer, but the opportunity to, given digital and everything, the opportunity to needs are there, right? And the opportunity to build new businesses is more than ever before. Yeah. So if there is one message I want to leave with you that, yes, doing a good job in a good company is a very good way of starting, your career. And I talked in the beginning, we talked about that in terms of my experiences, but I would now flip and say that, hey, given, generally entrepreneurship is a great opportunity. You should consider it very actively, but given where the world is, I would say that it is, sometimes, you have to follow the water, right? You try to shape the flow, but then you also see where the flow is going. Where the flow is going, if you're on the edge, do consider being an entrepreneur.
Well said, very well said, Nitin. I'm conscious that we are kind of approaching the last parts of our time available for you. So I think we'll open up for questions from students. Whilst we do that, I'll ask a question on their behalf, which is something on the top of their minds. Given the amount of change that is happening at this incredible pace, it's quite possible that whatever we are teaching them in these 2 years of MBA will very quickly become obsolete. What would be your advice to our young minds? Because they are just constructing their lives and their careers.
See, it's Sandeep, you know this as well better than me, that in any knowledge, there is knowledge which is timeless. Yeah, and then there is knowledge which is more temporal, which is more more for that point of time. And see, one of the very big I also have this a passion and a deep kind of interest in spirituality, and one of the things that we often talk about is this thing called Vivek means discrimination between what is permanent and what is not. Yeah. Similarly, knowledge, I would actually say that I maybe only partially agree with the way you frame the question, because I think a lot of what I learned in my career, whether it was in school, whether it was in engineering college at IIT or MBA at IIM Lucknow, I think it's still so incredibly relevant. It's still the foundations that you learn, you learn about 80-20 principle. Yeah. Is 80-20 going to go away?
Never.
Risk return curve, is that going to go away? You learn, when you learn finance, fundamentally you're learning about risk and return. You learn about virtuous cycle, vicious cycle. There are so many foundations, supply and demand. Are these things going to go away?
Never. And I'm so happy to hear you say it, Nitin, because if we were to tell them that, look, what we are teaching you is fundamental, it's much better hearing it from a practitioner like you.
So I always, I always kind of, I think it's a very, I don't agree with the view that, what you learn in college is not relevant and, there's a practical world out there. Yes, often, any academic institution, finds it difficult to just make things, completely real and practical. But it does not mean that the underlying knowledge is not relevant. Yeah. So if anything, I found what I am deeply appreciative of what I learned in both engineering college and business school. Yeah. I graduated in 1996. Okay, it's been 24 years, and I'm still deeply grateful, and I use most of what I learned. Yeah, it is my feeling if I'm not able to use it. It is my feeling that I did not absorb it well enough. But so first, I just want to get that out of the way, because it's very fashionable to say that it is not relevant, or it's fashionable to put it down. Yeah. But the other thing I would say is that, look, there is so much new knowledge out there, so much information out there. And see, the amazing thing about today's world, Sandeep, is that it has become so accessible.
Yes.
It has become so accessible, like 10 years back, 15 years back, let's say if Harvard Business School is the #1 business school in the world, or if MIT is the #1 engineering school in the world, it was a dream that, only few people can go there. But now that knowledge is so easily available. Yeah. So learning has moved from push to a lot more pull. It has become a lot more self-directed. And one of the absolute, I think, success factors in this age is that self-learning orientation. So, and that's something I would strongly encourage everybody to do. At this stage, I've been enrolled in courses. I've been doing courses. Maybe those are not the typical business courses. Maybe they tend to be courses in spirituality. But I am going through formal classes. So I think that's the amazing thing today, that with technology and with the data explosion, learning has become such an equalizer. It has got democratized, and everybody should really take advantage of that.
Thank you.
There are a lot of questions coming here. I'll let you decode which ones you want us to focus on, Sandeep.
Sure. So we have a question from Karthik Kamath, who's talking about some of the technologies used in the healthcare segment. And considering the pandemic, are there certain solutions which Incedo is working in healthcare, which kind of helps the system to handle such a crisis better in future?
See, Karthik, there is a lot happening in the healthcare space. It's a very traditional industry, where there is tremendous amount of complete disruption that is happening. There are two areas where we are focused on as far as the healthcare ecosystem is concerned. The first is with, a lot of our work is with the pharmaceutical companies. Yeah. So the pharmaceutical industry, if you look at it historically, it has been like a B2B industry. Yeah. Or maybe you can say it's B2B2C. Pharmaceutical companies don't sell directly to patients. Yeah. So the entire business model, has been about focusing on the doctors, or what they call HCPs, healthcare professionals. And now there is a shift happening. There is a very big shift happening, that the pharma companies are realizing that it is not just about the healthcare professional, it is also about the patient. Yeah. And their thinking, their business model is becoming a lot more patient-centric. Yeah. What is also happening is that in the field of medicine, one of the big trends is about personalized medicine. Yeah, which is therapies and kind of treatments which are very, very customized. Again, this theme of personalization, this in digital and this AI world, personalization is just just a very, very big thing. So this whole thing about shifting of their business model from healthcare professional centric to patient centric is where we are focused, where we are doing a lot of work. Yeah, and that's also something interesting insight I want to leave with you, that today there is, whatever industry you are in, yeah, we've had this thing about B2C, B2B, C2C, all of these models, but I can tell you that every industry is becoming finally C. Yeah, every industry is becoming B2C, whatever may be the chain. Yeah, that's a very, very big shift that is happening, something you guys should reflect on. And that also creates a lot of entrepreneurial business opportunities. Every industry that I know of is disintermediating. players are disappearing, new players are emerging, but fundamentally a lot of, it's about creating direct channels, and that's what is happening also in the life sciences industry and where we are focused. There are more aspects of healthcare I could talk about, but let me pause in the interest of getting in a few more questions.
Do we have time for it, Nitin? Because I'm
Yeah,
conscious.
of course. I can go over if you guys are okay.
Okay. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So then we can take a few more questions. So there's a very interesting question from Naveen. So Naveen is from our MBA1 marketing, and he's asking that a lot of the digital transformations come at a significant cost, and often the financial ROI cannot be estimated since the use cases are spread over a long period of time. So in such instances, how does Incedo go about helping customers realize benefits and
It's a
ROIs
brilliant
from
question. I mean, it's a brilliant question, and your question suggests that you come from you have prior experience in the IT industry, or you know what you're talking about, because this is absolutely a challenge which companies face. That often, it's quite, it's actually a very significant issue that, a lot of statistics show that 70% of digital transformation programs don't achieve their objectives. 70%. And, the numbers are staggering that, I think the overall spend on digital now is it's a ridiculous number now, 2 trillion or something like that. And you just imagine if 70% of that is going waste or not having impact. It's a very, very massive thing. So look, what you are pointing to is the entire basis of our philosophy or our working model. So any problem that we work on, we first start by anchoring it on KPIs. We start by anchoring it on some customer KPIs or business KPIs, which have to be impacted. Yeah, because again, if you go back to what I spoke about digital transformation, that digital transformation is not just about technology. The problem is that when you see it only as a technology transformation or as a technology program, you have to anchor it as a customer problem or a business problem. Yeah, and for that there has to be a KPI, and you have to keep that KPI front and center across your program. Yeah, not the other way around. Yeah, and it's an obsessive type of process that you have to follow. But again, the broader point is that the biggest mistake you can make is to see digital as a technology-only program. Yeah, it has to be anchored in customer or business KPIs.
Very well said, Nitin. Perhaps I'll pick up one last question. This is from Amay Nakat of MBA1. So he is asking about technology usage, adoption, transformation. Do you also see it working for rural customers over and beyond urban in the market spaces that Incedo transcends?
Amay, again, great question. And just a while back, when we were talking about learning and knowledge, I was making the point that with technology, there's a democratization that is happening. There is a explosion of access that is happening. I very firmly believe, Amay, that all the technology disruption we are talking about is going to benefit the rural and semi-urban areas more. I have a very firm conviction around that. Let me just talk about a couple of things. So first, my example from Flipkart. Yeah. So the e-commerce revolution in India is not about the mega cities and kind of the tier 1 towns. Yeah. The e-commerce revolution in India is about tier 2, 3, 4 towns. Yeah. So by far, the higher growth, by far, it's an order of magnitude, is in the smaller towns, the semi-urban areas. Okay. So those are facts, right? E-commerce is perhaps one of the most obvious manifestation of technology playing out. Yeah. Even when we talk about learning, I just feel so excited that people, who earlier did not have the access, are, millions and hundreds of millions of our children and youth in the rural areas or semi-urban areas, where quality education was not available earlier. Now that has changed. That is, that education now means, is available online. Yeah, it's, whether it is, Khan Academy or Byju's or whatever, it is available. It's such an amazing democratization. Yeah. So one of the, the most valuable and inspiring Indian companies, product companies, Zoho, the CEO is sitting out of a village now. He's sitting out of a village. So friends, this is the shift that is happening, and this is why, specifically for our country, for India, this is an amazing opportunity. We are going to leapfrog because of this. Yeah. If you look at like YouTube and all of these, mega digital channels, by far the largest, usage comes from India. Where is most of India? Most of India is not in Delhi, Mumbai, Pune. It is not. But it is consuming that digital output. So it's a great opportunity for us. And this is the leapfrog movement. And look at the Indian cricket team, just as an analogy. Yeah. That 15 years back, the Indian cricket team was all from Mumbai, Delhi, Chennai. You find anybody now from those centers, it's gone. It has gone to tier 3, 4. Yeah. Same is happening in the world of business. The same is happening in technology. And technology, the disruption in technology is actually going to enable this. What you have pointed out is not a challenge, is actually a phenomenal opportunity for us.
Wonderful. Brilliant thoughts, Nitin. I'm conscious of time, but I just want to perhaps ask you one last question. What would be a message about spirituality that you would like to share with our young minds who at this stage in their lives possibly do not feel the need for it so much unless it's before their PPI interview or something?
See, I'll just say it's a big topic. Spirituality seems it's like a very complex term. See, I'll just make 2 points. The first is that, look, in this world, in the life, opposite values are complementary. Okay, opposite values are complementary. So if you have to do great activity, you need to do great rest. Okay, and given the world is so chaotic, so complex, so fast moving, you would agree with that? It's chaotic, it's fast moving, it's complex. You have to find a place of deep peace, and that is not outside, that is within yourself. Yeah. So the more you want to succeed in the external world, stronger you have to be internally. Yeah. Spirituality is nothing but the process of going inside yourself. Yeah. Is nothing but the process of going inside yourself, and the more you can go inside yourself, the stronger you will be to face the world outside. If you want to build a skyscraper, you have to, you need to have a very, very deep foundation. That is what spirituality is about. That's my message number 1. Message number 2 is that, look, this is, the practices of spirituality, whether it is meditation or yoga, or, the great wisdom, which, our land has produced over 10,000 years. See, I believe this is timeless wisdom. World is discovering it. This is perhaps our country's biggest gift to the world. Yeah. And the world is acknowledging it. The world is following it. I moved to the US a couple of years back. I live in a small town here. It's called Short Hills in New Jersey. Even the town probably has 25,000 people, small town. But my town center has at least 3 yoga centers. Yeah, my small town has got at least 3 yoga centers. Yeah, meditation has become mindfulness. Yeah, it is like any corporation today, and any CEO would have gone through a mindfulness course. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, look, this is our wisdom. Okay, This is our game. Yeah, this is what we have been doing for thousands of years. Okay, this is what the world also needs. Now, the world is acknowledging it. For all of us for whom it is natural, you don't have to, go, yoga, meditation, whatever. That is just at this stage of your career, of your lives. You are in your early 20s, mid 20s, whatever. These are skills. Spirituality is also a skill. Yeah, it's like, Sandeep's question about do you do what you love or you love what you do. Spirituality is also a skill. That was a skill. That was a skill. That mindset was a skill. These are skills. Meditation is a skill. Yeah, and I would just really strongly encourage you to explore this in your own lives.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, Nitin, when we have sessions like this, we listen to learned minds, but today I think we have heard from an enlightened soul. And I do hope that we shall be the beneficiaries of your blessings and support in the times to come. And I know that we have an ongoing discussion with Apurva and Shailaja about possibly another slot with you in sometime in November, where we will speak with author Nitin Seth. Hopefully, let's look forward to that. So with that, let me hand over to Tanisha for a formal vote of thanks before we close the session.
Thanks, Sandeep. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Pleasure was entirely mine.
This was indeed a thought-provoking session for all of us as we got great lessons from different phases of Nitin Seth's corporate career and how the segment of one has taken over due to digital disruption and the pandemic providing a perfect platform for entrepreneurship and democratization of learning. On the behalf of corporate interface team at SIBM Pune, I would like to thank you for your invaluable time and insights shared today. Thank you, Nitin sir and Professor Sandeep.
Most welcome. And let's not forget to thank Apurva as well, who helped to create the platform for our discussion. Thank you, Apurva, and thanks a ton, Nitin.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. All the best.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.